Signed in 1787, the U.S. Constitution states that no state shall make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payment of debts. In 1791, to help pay for the Revolution, Congress established the first national bank of the United States. Within a decade, it became evident that taxes were being sent to the Crown, and the bank was not renewed. A political battle ensued, which resulted in the formation of America's first two political parties, the Federalists and the Democratic Republicans. The framers of the U.S. Constitution left out any mention of political parties because they saw them as corrupt relics of the British Crown's divide-and-conquer system. The second central bank was chartered in 1816 and shut down in 1832 by Andrew Jackson, who wrote that the bank was unauthorized by the Constitution, subversive to the rights of states, and dangerous to the liberties of the people. For nearly a century, America thrived without a central bank, until 1914, when the privately owned Federal Reserve banking system was quietly given power over America's wealth. In 1933, the U.S. government declared bankruptcy, and the Fed shifted to a debt-based economy. And after the U.S. dollar was made the world reserve currency, the entire world became dependent upon debt. A currency backed by nothing but debt and IOUs was doomed to eventually fail from the start, and that day appears to be coming soon. These big banks have funded wars and criminally profited off human suffering for decades. Credit Suisse alone has been fined over 50 times for over $10 billion for money laundering, fraud, espionage, drug trafficking, and stealing money from the people. Every person in the civilized world is now feeling the same financial pressure being subjected by the U.S. Federal Reserve Bank. Nations of the world are buying up record amounts of gold. 3/4 of the world have joined BRICS to prepare for a new world reserve currency after the end of the U.S. dollar. Zimbabwe and Mexico are now joining BRICS. But it's important to remember that the Federal Reserve Bank is operated by BlackRock. BlackRock is operated by the Rothschild City of London banking cartel. And so even if the Fed collapses, BRICS is most likely another proxy of this old banking cartel. The idea for BRICS was born in 2001 from Goldman Sachs. The Federal Reserve Bank's digital currency, FedCoin, is already hugely unpopular. CBDCs are being rejected upon arrival. But that isn't stopping the federal government and the failing big banks from luring the population into their new nightmare system. This July, the Federal Reserve Bank will be launching FedNow and managing practically every transaction made in the United States. Then all they have to do is what the Nigerian central bank just did: shred and destroy mountains of cash and stop filling the ATMs. But we're not slaves yet, and if we want to have financial freedom, then it's time to fight back against the CBDC concept and return to lawful constitutional money. Oklahoma has a law in the works that will protect Oklahomans from being forced to adopt a CBDC. And Florida is now working on a law that will expressly prohibit the use of a CBDC. Florida's Governor Ron DeSantis is calling on other state governors to do the same and fight back against CBDC nationwide. At least a dozen states have passed laws to begin accepting gold and silver as cash, on the path to returning to a lawful constitutional money system. Several states have begun printing their own gold backs, a currency shaped like notes made of thin layers of pure gold with a polymer coating, making it easy to spend $1's worth of gold. And the free market has been busy figuring out blockchain banking since the Bitcoin white paper. We don't need a central bank or a government to manage our money, but we have to act now and prepare.
Shalom, Kolayim La Yahweh Bashim Yal Shai. Also, give it the man as LGMS and honor to you, Akim. Peace and bless you, brothers and sisters that listen to Hopeful Elect, Kolayim La Yahweh Bashim Yal Shai. And do this quick video today to the power of Yahweh Bashim Yal Shai and the whole CBDC, central bank and digital currency. We know this financial crisis is on the rise. The Silicon Valley Bank, we did videos on that, and multiple banks, right, starting to fall. It's a domino effect because they're all interconnected, because they have to bring forth their new currency, man. And showing you in the scriptures that's wicked and it's unjust, man. All right, because the scriptures deals with, and the world economy and the ancient world dealt with the gold standard, man. All right, you know, people, Jake always talking about, I don't deal with the Bible don't deal with economics. Well, you're an idiot, man. All right, the scripture deals with economics, man. The scripture deals with all facets of society, man. All right, and how do we trade? How do we exchanging of goods in the scriptures? It was through gold and silver, man. That was always the medium used in the for exchange, or what they call the monetary system, man. Always, man. All right, get those precepts. And then, you know, they showed the video. I can show that in the post-production. America at one time had the gold standard. All right. The dollar was supposed to be equivalent to a certain amount of gold, man. Or it could be converted into a certain amount of gold, or ounces of gold, man. All right. Until you had FDR, who got rid of that in 1933. And they got rid of it, the rest of the system, in 1971 to 1973 with Richard Nixon, man. And then you had Woodrow Wilson, who sold out America to the bankers, the Federal Reserve, in 1913. Right, and then even go to that Britain, because that's where the whole economic policies come from. Those are one of those unclean spirits. They got rid of those that gold standard in 1931 as well. All right, so that's wicked, man. Okay. That's why the scripture calls them, I think it's Isaiah 32:7, talk about the devices of the churl. And he creates these wicked devices to destroy the poor with lying words. Briefly paraphrasing it, man. Right? A churl is what a mean spirit or evil individual, man. A real scoundrel. That's what these devils are, man. All right? And we also go into that whole, you know, this whole dollar is a fiat currency, man. All right, it has no intrinsic value. The government gives it value, man. And that was the whole point of the gold standard, was to prevent inflation, deflation. Right, them playing with the money supply, man. Right, they could do whatever they want. They could print it out of thin air. You see, they give it value, man. And they're about to do away with this system, man. Right, so they're gonna hold people hostage, take your money in your bank accounts. Right, we did that already. Bail-ins. You see, and it's going to force people to try to do these bank runs, which is going to cause the system to collapse even faster, man. Right? They already said that America's worth $31 trillion in debt, right? Because of this credit or debt-based system that they set in place. So they talking about taking people tax returns, they 401k, Social Security, man. Evil, man. But it's all the collapse of America, aka Babylon the Great, man. Okay, the collapse is in effect, full effect. All right, that's why we have to take our mind out of this place, man. All right, and like I was going into this whole CBDC. Let me see if I can pull up this article. If not, I'll put in post-production. This whole CBDC, the central bank and digital currency, is a digital voucher. All right, so it's programmable money. You see, and they'll have you in the digital prison or surveillance. You see, so these devils, they could and track all your purchases, man. Hell, like they say, if your social credit score's not high enough, they can block your account. You see, and which we know is all gonna tie to the MOTB, man. You see, man, but let me get the precepts though, man. Call them like how about Shemal Shah. Let me get the first precept. I think it's Genesis. I don't want to do too much talking. Let's get straight to the point. Genesis chapter 13, verse 2. Okay, gold and silver, man. Genesis 13, verse 2. Let's start verse 1. And Abram went up out of Egypt, he and his wife, and all that he had, and Lot with him into the south. And Abram was very rich in cattle, in silver, and in gold, man. The ancient world, man. We know our forefather Abraham came out of Babylon. Okay? The scripture says he went up out of Egypt. So what were they dealing with in the ancient world? They were exchanging in gold and silver. All right. He was rich. He was wealthy. What? In cattle. All right. His servants and Lot's servants got into it over that, and they had to end up splitting and going it both ways. That's how wealthy our forefathers were, man. Okay. So he had a lot of cattle, he had a lot of gold, and he had a lot of silver. We don't have those things, man. The scripture says we have to go to the enemy for the one of all things. And you killing yourself over something that has no value, selling your soul for something that has no value, man. That's being depleted every single day. That's being depreciated every single day, man. That freaking dollar, man. All right. All right. And like we said, and there was different forms of, matter of fact, let me get that First Chronicles 1:29 before I say that. First Chronicles chapter 1, verse 29. Let's get that. First Chronicles chapter 1, verse 29. It says, furthermore, David the king said unto all the congregation, Solomon my son, whom alone have the Most High chosen, is yet young and tender, and the work is great. For the palace is not for man, but is for the Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. And I prepared with all my might for the house of my power the gold for things to be made of gold, and the silver of things of silver, and the brass for the things of brass, the iron of things of iron, and wood for the things of wood, onyx stones, stones to be set, glycerin stones, and divers colors, and all manner of precious stones and marble stones in abundance. That's how we beautified the temple, man. All right. Moreover, because I set my affections to the house of my power, I have my own proper good of gold and silver, which I've given to the house of my power over above all that I prepared for the holy house. So he's getting Solomon ready to build the temple for Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. That's how we connected with our power. That was the importance of the temple. We did videos on that already. Okay. And how did David prepare it? Well, the scripture says, we're going to read now, even 3,000 talents of gold, man, and the gold of Ophir, the finest gold, 7,000 talents of refined silver to overlay the walls of the houses withal, man. So we can imagine immaculate the first temple looked like, man. Okay, it was overlaid with gold and precious stones, man. Okay, that's what we dealt with in the ancient world, man. And it says what? Gold for things of gold, and silver for things of silver, and all manner of work to be made by the hands of artificers, skilled laborers, who then is willing to consecrate his service this day unto Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. Is asking a question. All right, and we're spiritually building the temple today, man. All right. Adon Ratazar, we're that gold and silver that the Most High is purifying. You see? But showing you. Oh, let me read a little bit more. It says, then the chief of the fathers and princes of the tribes of Israel and the captains of thousands of hundreds with the rulers of the king's work offered willingly, which all those men are back here today, and gave for the service of the house of the Most High 5,000 talents, right? Which we dealt with different forms of measurements in the scriptures. You dealt with Gera, which I believe a Gera is at what? I think a 1/20th of a shekel, right? A shekel today, I think, as they say, is equivalent to, I think, 30 cents, right? You had minas, which is just like 60 shekels. You also have what? A talent, right? Which is what? 3,000 shekels, man. Right? Like the Lord gave what? Talents to brothers. Different measurement of faith, gifts, prophecy, right? Understanding the scriptures. That's a talent, a certain measurement of money. All right. He gave us that, man. And he wants us to build off that. Right. But like showing when they were building the house of the Most High, they dealt with real gold and silver, man. We're reading it. 5,000 talents and 10,000 drams. I forgot how much a dram is. How much shekels that is. It says, and of silver 10,000 talents, and brass 18,000 talents, and 100,000 talents of iron, man. Okay. So they had these precious stones, brass, and of course the top will be gold and silver, and those precious stones to beautify the temple of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, man. Okay. So and the thing is that, let me get one precept before I make that point. Let me get Micah chapter 6 verse 10. Alright, so Kolim La Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. The scriptures dealt with gold. The ancient world dealt with gold and silver, man. Okay. Let's get a Micah chapter, not no fiat or paper currency. You see? And like we said, people going crazy over this paper currency, man. That's witchcraft, man. All right. Micah chapter 6 verse 10. All right. And that's all these rappers and these so-called musicians. They push that covetous lifestyle, man. You see? And they don't own anything. They don't even own their own masters, man. But they throwing some paper money up there, man. And the Amalekite, he controls the things that you need. These bankers, man. Right? They control the gold and the silver and the cattle and the land and you people. That's why you have a social security number. They own you, man. All right? That's why it says, Micah 6 and 10, it says, are ye not the treasures of the wickedness in the house of the wicked, which is going into Israelite so-called rulers, but even amongst these other nations, all right? Especially the top that's running this society. And a scant measure that is abominable, shall I count them pure with the wicked balances? That's the point I want to get out. And the bag of deceitful weights. For the rich men thereof are full of violence, and inhabitants thereof have spoken lies, and their tongue is deceitful in their mouth. Right? That's all they speak is deceit. The country was built off lies and deceit, man. Okay? And then the sea said, what, a bag of deceitful weights, which that's against the law, man. That's against the law. Where's that law? I think it's Deuteronomy 25. I think it's 12 or 13. Let's see. There we go. Deuteronomy 25 verse 13. It says, thou shalt not have in thy bag diverse weights, a great and a small. Right? You had diverse weights when you're trading goods or purchasing goods. You see, they use heavier weights when they're somebody wants to buy something for buying, and also they use lighter weights when selling. You see, so people are paying more for less, man. And the Most High was what? He was against that. All right. He said you're not supposed to have a bag of diverse weights. It's supposed to be balanced or equal. All right. We're supposed to deal with each other as equals, man. And you think these Amalekites don't know the law? Of course they know the law. Right? Aren't they supposed to be the chosen people of the Most High? Don't they have the Torah in their hand, man? See? But in their so-called Talmud tells them, when you deal with the Goyim, do your best to get over on him. Right? And that's one of the ways they get over on hell, even their own people, is by using these diverse weights. All right? That paper currency, man. All right? That's why the scripture says this. Let me get Sirach, the 13th chapter. I'm going to close this out soon through the power of Yahweh, but I didn't want to do nothing long. Just wanted to. Basic history lesson, man. And what real money is, man. Right? Scripture says, Sirach 13 and 18. For what agreement is there between a hyena and a dog? And what peace between the rich and the poor? There is no peace between the rich and the poor. There's never been. All right? They're on top and we're at the bottom, man. Scripture says, as a wild ass is in a lion's prey in the wilderness, so the rich eat up the poor, man. Okay? And as the proud hateth humility, so if the rich abhor the poor, man. You see? So they abhor you. They hate you, man. Okay? Let me get, and that's why they're going to bring forth that MOTB, man. To further oppress us, man. Like we said, even their own people, man. Right? Because the scripture says, Psalms the 73rd chapter, that their eyes stand up with fatness. They want more than what the heart can wish. All right? Ultimately, they want your soul. All right? And they're going to present this thing. That scripture talks about deceitful or is lying words as it like it's a good thing. You see? And they're saving the environment and germs. That's what they was pushing during the whole pandemic. Right? The elimination of cash, man. Right? They're telling people because of germs and you know, because of C-19. Well, that was all bullshit, man. All right. They want to see and know what you're doing at all times, man. All right. That's why the scripture says this, though. Let me get Isaiah 51, verse 23, with a couple of more precepts, and that'll be it. You know, so call him Lai Bashim Shah. In the kingdom, we going back to the gold standard when you nations are trading amongst each other, man. All right. That's the standard that the Most High set up. Look at this. Isaiah chapter 51, verse 23 says, "But I will put it into the hand of them that afflict thee, which have said to thy soul, bow down, that we may go over. And thou hast laid thy body as the ground and as the street to them that went over." And that's all these nations. That especially Aisha, who's the top, man. All right. Psalms the 83rd chapter, man. The scripture talks of the rich devouring the poor. Hell, Solomon said he's seen under the sun the oppressed. And he said in the hand of the oppressors there was power, man. There was no justice being done, man. You see, especially amongst us, man. Scripture says we working with holes in our pocket, man. All right. And we also tributaries to this man's society. All right. And like we said, with this whole CBDC, he's going to further oppress you, man. You see, and he's going to tell you what you could spend your money on and what you can't. And if you don't accept this MOTB, well, we already know a lot of you are going to be tortured in them concentration camps, man. All right. But call him Lai Bashim Al Shah. We not reliant on this serpent. So it says, we no longer going to rely on him that, Isaiah the 10th chapter. We no longer going to stay upon him that smote us, man. Okay, we gonna stay upon Yahweh Bashim Al Shah. So we not getting caught up in this whole money system. You know, we're in the world, but we're not of it. Okay, we use it, but we don't abuse it, man. All right. Scripture says we're pilgrims. Right? We use what we can, and then we moving on. All right, because we understand something better is coming, the kingdom of Yahweh Bashim Al Shah. So our soul is not attached to those things. And that's why the Most High said to me, Isaiah the 52nd chapter, he says, "Awake, awake, put on thy strength, O Zion, put on thy beautiful garments," which is the entire knowledge. Okay? You're supposed to be covered by this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, covered by the faith, man. All right? It says, "O Jerusalem, the holy city," which is talking about a people. It's not the actual place. "For henceforth there shall be no more coming to thee the uncircumcised and the unclean. Shake thyself from the dust and arise, sit down, O Jerusalem. Loose thyself from the hands of thy neck, O captive daughter of Zion." So this Jerusalem's talking about the captive daughter of Zion, man. Shake thyself from the dust, man, and arise, man. Ezekiel 37. Okay. Coming back to our nationality, coming back to our power, man. Starting to have faith, rehearse the righteous acts. We're no longer in a lower state. All right. And our enemies see that. It says, "For thus saith Yahweh Bashim Al Shah, ye have sold yourselves for naught, for nothing, and ye shall be redeemed without money," man. Okay? Just like the Most High purchased us the first time when you read Exodus the 15th chapter, man. He redeemed us, man. He saved us, man. And how he was saving us this time? Through the Mashiach's blood, man. Now, Scripture says redeemed without money. All right? Because our people have sold themselves for naught, for absolutely nothing. And we see that today. Okay? That's what Yahushua said, "What shall a man profit? He shall gain the whole world and lose his soul," man. Okay? We have better things on the way, man. So we don't give two shits about what this devil is doing, man. Only thing we have to do is endure. All right? So that I'm going to say, call him La Yahweh Bashim Al Shah. That I'm going to say, Shalom.